Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be telling you all about how I made my first ever photography zine, and hopefully you'll learn how to make a zine too. The first thing that you're going to want to do, and it sounds pretty obvious, but you're going to want to collect a body of work. So as a freelance photographer in my spare time, a lot of the stuff I do is portraits or event photography and music photography, but actually in my free time I really like doing street photography. So for this project I chose one street, my favorite street in Beijing, and I did a whole collection of different street photography that I found. Some of the images I took last October, most of them I took this October, and I put together a whole collection on this one street. So the second thing that you're going to want to do is create a digital document to take to your printer. There's a couple of ways you can make a book style PDF document. You can use software such as InDesign. I personally don't have InDesign, and I wasn't sure if I was going to continue making zines in the future, so I didn't want to purchase it. So what I actually used was a free software called Scribus. Scribus is a bit of an old-fashioned... It's a little bit janky, but actually it's very easy to use because you can just open up a book PDF, you can add and subtract pages as you like, and for a photography zine it was super useful because you can kind of just drag and drop photos that you want into the layout and move them around, and it was pretty easy to use. For slightly more complicated pages, such as ones that had overlaying images or text on them as well, I actually opened up an A5 file in Photoshop and created pages in there, and then just simply put those pages into Scribus, and it was very easy. So if this is your first zine and you want to use a free software that's relatively easy to use and you want to experience that traveling back in time feeling, I highly recommend Scribus. So once you've created your digital PDF document, you're going to want to take it to print. There's a couple of things to consider when printing your zine, and that is what type of paper you should use and the thickness. So for my zine I used two different thicknesses of paper. The cover I used a 250 gram matte finish paper, and the inside I used a 160 gram also matte finish paper. So this created a kind of like a nice thick, high quality, sturdy feel to the zine, which was what I really wanted. It was my first zine and I was presenting my first collection of work, so I really wanted it to be quite high quality. The only downside to printing, on thicker paper is obviously it's going to ramp up the cost a little bit. So I actually recommend what my friends over at Nugget Records did for their zine, which was to print on a 157 gram semi-gloss paper. Their zine is a lot more flexible than mine. It's still got a really nice feel and finish to it. It still feels high quality, but ultimately printing on a thinner paper is going to just lower the cost of the overall printing, so they were able to print like 100 of their zines. So as a photographer, I highly recommend that everyone tries to make their own zine, or at least print some of their photos, because I constantly find that nowadays, I post my photos on Instagram or on my website and never look at them again. So I highly recommend printing your work because it's really nice to just hold a physical thing that you made in your hands. It's tangible, it's glossy, it just... Oh. So I highly recommend giving zine making a go, because it's actually not too hard, especially once you figure out how to navigate Scribus. It's a pretty easy process. So I hope that you find this video helpful. If you've ever made a zine before, please comment below if you have any additional tips. Also, if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me in the future. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!